Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. How's it? How are you, Fancy? You got everything on your end?
Metaverse Nomads.
All right, all right. Well, welcome to episode number 92, the Metaverse Nomads. Man, what an interesting day, fraught with technical difficulties, but yet here we are. How you doing,
Man,
Ray?
I'm doing all right. It's always one of those days out of the week. You have to have at least one out there. I don't know if you're Superman or woman if you don't have a technical difficulty day when it comes to some type of tech, whether phone or desktop, laptop, or streaming services or whatever the case is. But it's good to see you guys. It's good to be here, and yeah, let's do it.
Indeed. How you doing, Fancy Hat?
Yeah, doing great. Another Sunday, we're back at it, and a lot to report this week. Yeah, I'm excited.
It has been
Yeah.
a busy week. I've heard a couple things have been going on.
Something about escape velocity. What does that even mean? I don't work for NASA. Do you have to work for NASA to know what any of this means? All right. Well, let the cringeness end. It was Star Atlas is the go-to game in the Web3 space for sure. After what happened with its Escape Velocity release, what do you think, guys?
Yeah, well, you know what? If anything, I appreciate the stress test side of things, and that's what's interesting, especially some of the stats. If we, I don't know how many of them we rounded up, or I'm sure we'll be able to find them. And then, of course, those of you that are just tuning in and joining us, you probably have some info to share as well. But man, we're doing a stress test not just for Star Atlas, but for Solana, which is pretty cool.
Solana, yeah, has been upgrading behind the scenes, and maybe not so much behind the scenes. If you pay attention to other ecosystems in the space, you don't know more or less the bare minimum of what's going on there. But I think this release and all the transactions that took place did definitely caught some new eyes in the space that kind of forgot. Some stragglers that left and checked out might have came back. Numbers don't lie, so we'll get into all that. But yeah, what do you think, Jess? We get into that general news before
Let's
we
do it.
blast off and escape that velocity.
You got some bubbles. We usually check out some bubbles to get things started, don't we?
Yay, man!
There's the bubbles.
I'll tell you, render is blown up. The last time it was talked about within our own Discord in the projects or economics, maybe both. I'm not sure now, but the projects, it's more for rendering projects, and I think I mentioned it 2 episodes ago, very briefly when we were talking about it moving to Solana, and then maybe something else when it came to AI. Oh yeah, that's when you did your bit on AI, Jess. It was well done there, and then that was 2 episodes ago. So maybe check that one out. Catch yourself up, but if not, yeah, render is just on the up and up, and so far so good. More power to them, but it's going to be I guess if you want exposure to AI, not directly, but this is what's going to help AI, I guess, explode or multiply when it comes to projects being able to render out what they're doing. Yeah, so there's going to be a burn mechanism for all the render that's used for any particular project that when it comes to rendering. And yeah, so I'm just impressed by that. And yeah, and we got some other bubbles that are green. We got some soul action there. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about this market, although meme coins really kept all the engagement for the last week and a half, and maybe still up until today, some meme coins. But yeah. And thanks again for everyone coming in, tuning in with us. We got 16 live with us right now, so appreciate you. Let us know in the chat how you're feeling today too. You're here for you sometimes, and maybe not always here for us. So we appreciate you tuning in, and welcome if you're new here, and welcome back if you're not. So we appreciate all that, and yeah, sorry, Jess. I just wanted to do that real quick.
No, absolutely, man. Yeah, I see that. So, peace and blessings to all the clickers out there. Yes, there's a lot of clicking going on. Got ice buckets for your wrist, and
That's it. Massage. Get the blood flow. Keep the blood flow going in there, for sure. And it's not my first forte into clicking. I think Axie's Land, the first iteration of it it was a clicking marathon, so I was a little prepped for this. I pre-gamed a bit a couple of months back, so I knew it was coming. But again, like you said, the data part of it was the most exciting part of this, I think. But yeah, well, let's just get on that. General news. I think we have I don't know if you don't know Jim Cramer. He's this is Reverse Kramer. There's an account called Reverse Kramer, but whenever Kramer says anything that he's pro or in favor for, better watch out because it just disappears and and the stocks go down or whatever it is. So here, check this out. Let me know what you think.
Okay, you know what, guys? I think I'm
What
going
are
to
you
make a
looking?
prediction.
little volume there.
A little volume and then restart, please. Thanks.
I am extremely okay. You know what, guys? I think I'm going to make a prediction. I'll just come out and say it. I am extremely bullish on the human race. Now, I know some of you might say that is a bold call, but I've been analyzing a bunch of data, and I think it makes sense. I would go so far as to say that in the next 10 years, world hunger, poverty, and cancer will no longer be issues. Seriously, guys, I am so fucking bullish on the human race. Okay.
All right, that was it. So, if you did anyone catch it? Does anyone think otherwise of what this might be if it's not actually Jim Cramer?
Is definitely some AI, and in fact, the memes that I've seen out there lately are the three presidents talking to each other. They're telling each other dad jokes. It's Biden, Trump, and Obama, and it's basically the same kind of thing there. AI taking over and them having a conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hilarious to me. So, just the reputation that Jim Cramer built up for himself in the space. And then, so basically say goodbye to your loved ones because when Cramer is bullish, it's complete opposite. It's the reverse Cramer. But yeah, there was AI. It was 11 Labs that was used with a photo and a little description of the person who made it. So shout out to Chairman. Funny video. And if you just heard it, you might think it's real. But you have to kind of do a visual and audio. Sometimes the audio could be so identical to the actual person's voice that you can't really tell. So we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. This is the beginning. If this is ground level, then who knows what we're looking at in the next 5 to 10 years. So little pick me up for the beginning of the show. But yeah, onwards. We could just get on with Coinbase is not standing down, although they went into Bermuda to continue growing because they're kind of halted here in the U.S. with clarity on regulation and whatnot, as we've been covering. But we have Coinbase, the chief legal officer. There was a video that was made as well, but we won't technically watch that. It's a 5-minute video. So just to sum it up, today we reading off of the chief legal officer's Twitter here. So today we filed a narrow action in the U.S. Circuit Court to compel the SEC to respond yes or no to a rulemaking petition we filed with them last July asking them to provide regulatory guidance for the crypto industry. And then it goes on to saying the SEC required by law to respond to petitions, quote, within a reasonable time, which is ironic that they don't give a timeline for themselves, but demand timelines and people to take action outside of them. And then, but yeah, they have not yet responded to our petition from last July, which is why we filed our action in the courts today. So there's a video that goes on, which we've seen last week. So it's obvious that there's a lack of clarity amongst regulators regarding crypto, as even the chair of the SEC has declined to say which crypto assets are securities, as we know. And then the crypto industry and its users need clear laws and rules to follow that are built for new technology. Enforcement actions based on inapplicable security laws aren't the answer. So we kind of already know this. If we've been living under a rock, maybe this is news to you, but I'm glad that Coinbase is suing essentially the SEC and demanding a response because that's what by law they have to do outside of them being restructured from Gensler being in front of the Congress. So yeah, pretty much that's what that is all about. Yeah, this is just an article that goes into it. So if you're watching, you can search it, Google it, or just go straight to Coinbase itself. And yeah, it takes another formal step to seek regulatory clarity. So that's pretty much that. Just wanted to throw it out there. This is like a mini update on what Coinbase is doing. So they're not totally done, down and out, and then leaving, but they want to be here, it seems. And yep, we can move on here. So PayPal. Oh yeah, and also they were doing on Twitter. You can mint this shield, and then proceeds from the shield go to helping with funding their endeavors when it comes to this, because it's not cheap. And let me pull this up because I actually didn't have it on my tab. But if it loads, then we're getting into it. And the community is clearly fired up about sensible crypto policies. Here's how to continue to support. So you can mint a stand with crypto commemorative NFT. Add the shield emoji to your Twitter display name. That's always a nice trend to get things going around, people questioning what's going on. So the commemorative NFT features a blue shield representing our collective stand to protect and promote the potential of crypto. All proceeds associated with with the stand with crypto NFT collection on our Zora will be donated to vetting organizations through a crypto advocacy round with Gitcoin. So that's pretty cool. And we're proud that this collection will support the work of Fund DeFi, Blockchain Association, and then others in the space. Yeah, and then so check that out to show your support, because we need some regulatory clarity. And the world's moving on without us here in the West. So we can move on to the next article here, but PayPal to enable on-chain transfers from Venmo accounts, including 2 on-chain wallets. So now you're able to not just stay having your coins custodied for you, but you can take them off as soon as you get them. And that's pretty much it. So not getting into crazy details here, but it's good to see that there's more adoption in ways of allowing people to self-custody their own money, which might seem like a foreign thing, but if it's just digits on a screen that's held at PayPal or the banks, it's technically not yours, or literally not yours. So get used to understanding that and spreading the word of self-custody when it comes to funds related to crypto, and how it's not that way when it comes to fiat currencies. So we can move on from that. So good on PayPal, even though they had that little quarrel back with the terms of service that they'll just take $2,500 out of your account for no reason if it's misinformation. If you guys remember that was pretty crazy. Their stock plummeted after that. But yeah, and then the next one here for general news, we have the World Economic Forum saying Bitcoin mining can reduce a quote-unquote massive amount of emissions and benefit the environment. So now it's good for us, Bitcoin mining? The environment will be helped? Was it always the case? Or did people not understand and try to create some type of narrative? So Bitcoin was on the cheap to buy for so long because people missed out on the train ride. There's many variables here and reasons why and why not. But yeah, let's check this little video out. It's only and then we can maybe share some thoughts.
One of the key problems we're focused on emission reduction is called flaring. Flaring happens either in the oil field or in landfills, where you have this waste stream of gas that's associated with oil production, or happens from decomposition of landfill. What Crusoe does is we actually build, operate, and manage these mobile and modular data centers that we co-locate on location with these waste sources of energy. And then we use those waste methane streams to power these mobile modular data centers. And so by doing that, not only do we create a massive emission reduction from this previously wasted source of energy, but we can also produce ultra low cost computing infrastructure by harnessing this otherwise stranded form of energy.
yeah, so that was it. Just, a couple seconds left.
Me
All right.
personally,
Yep.
I think it's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. And I'll tell you why, man. It's
Good.
like saying that from now on, every time there's a house fire, we're going to put a hood on it. We're going to use the emissions from that house fire to save on our Bitcoin mining. It's like, how about we stop using fossil fuels and stop filling landfills with a bunch of crap to begin with? The solution is not freaking figure out a way to use those emissions for more energy.
Yeah, they're looking at the wrong. They're looking in the wrong direction here. Yeah, blind eyes are turned all over the place. But it's just ironic. Although you're correct, 100% right there. Where attention we shouldn't be talking about Bitcoin mining per se. Although yes, the numbers are there and it does help. And now the World Economic Forum and people who were like protesting against Bitcoin mining during that phase, I remember it was like otherworldly. People came out with pitchforks focused on Bitcoin, but like you just said, not paying attention and mentioning anything else really from what I was listening to during that time. So yeah, it's kind of like, what side are you on and what are you really paying attention to make everlasting or evergreen change here?
It's almost like the like the oil companies got together and says, how can we make fossil fuels sexy? We'll like come up with some new green emissions way to show how they can leverage what we're already doing and make it better.
Right, and we'll just tax them a little bit more at the end of that. For whatever it is. But yeah, New York this year imposed a ban on cryptocurrency mining that runs on fossil fuels generated power. So I'm reading off of the Rutgers article here. Other states are expected to follow suit, but Texas seems to be the go-to place. They're really taking off when it comes to Bitcoin mining. So some countries, some counties have offered tax incentives in miners to continue to be drawn to its wind and solar power, which could supply 39%. Of energy back to the grid. So there's incentives and programs that help in maybe hurricanes. Like, who knows how this is going to be applied, but if it's going to help in different ways, then fine. Let's go down that route. But it's about time Bitcoin mining gets some positive, publicity here. It's been a long time coming. So yeah, thanks for that mini rant. That was a good one, Jess. Save the environment. Okay, let's get on. Save some energy, Jess. Save some energy. We need it for later. All right, here we go. So this was pretty cool. This happened on the 17th. So now institutional investors and retail investors, if they didn't want to hold actual coins of crypto themselves, but Grayscale is Solana Trust has begun trading on the OTC markets under the symbol GSOL. So you'll have exposure to Sol via what you'd have, which is GSOL. So we're proud to provide investors the cost-effective and convenient ways to access digital currencies. So that's pretty cool. Now it's part of the family. So I think ETH and Bitcoin, amongst a couple of others, because last I even looked it up, they've added some tokens. Before it was only, I think, BTC, but Solana is a part of the family there. So that's pretty cool. It's not down and out, as everyone's saying. Goes, why would it be part of the Grayscale Solana Trust? Come on, guys. Connect the dots. So cool. Just wanted to mention that. And then also, just on the topic of Solana, I'm sure if you haven't, let us know if you have. But the state compression was something that was added to Solana here. So people are still sleeping on the fact it costs $200 to mint and deliver NFTs to 10 million users on Solana using state compression, a couple orders of magnitude cheaper than its closest peers. So this is a recent development on the Solana chain. So it is if we click on the photo, yeah, we got it here. So if there wasn't no state compression, so just for context, state compression is a new way to store data directly on chain that cuts down on costs of magnitude. By magnitudes of scale. And then this chart is based on a snapshot taken on April 5th, 2023. And it's based off the prices of Sol, which was $21 then. Matic was $1.14, and then ETH was $1,909. So although state compression can be used to store any sort of data on the chain with various apps and different companies that wanted to do anything on Solana, the first use of this innovative technology is compressed NFTs. Excuse me. So we'll see that the highlighted in the middle here is Solana with compression. And then on the left of that, it's Solana today. And then on the left of that, so starting all the way on the left-hand side, we have the number of NFTs. So it just goes from 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, and then a billion. And the costs exponentially increase on the Ethereum and Polygon chain when it comes to any number of NFTs that are being minted on the left-hand side. So you'll be upwards on Ethereum if you had the mint compared to Solana, $33 million if you wanted to mint a million NFTs. But comparatively to Ethereum, Solana, you'd be paying $113. But if there wasn't any stake compression, you'd be paying $253,000. So still much less than Ethereum. And then Polygon for that same 1 million NFTs would be $32,000. So Polygon is much cheaper. But Solana here is in front of the pack when it comes to mass minting of NFTs and speed of transactions. So I don't know. I think Solana is still the front runner there. So that's pretty cool. And let's keep it moving. I think that was it. I do have 2 games that I'm looking at that I'd like to share with us after we get into, or after we finish Star Atlas. I think they're pretty unique and fun games. So I'll just throw it back over to you, and we'll get into Star Atlas. I think that's what we have next.
All right. Yeah, man. So we didn't actually have a whole lot prepared. It was more just like dialogue and conversation about what's your experience. I'd like to hear from some of the folks that are joining us as well. Like, what is your guys' experience of Sage Escape Velocity? So essentially, as we talked about last week, this is an opportunity for the Star Atlas team to do some testing of the environment itself, testing of the servers, testing of movement. But oddly enough, its movement doesn't seem to be a requirement within the game, unless, of course, you want to occupy more than one square. But movement doesn't seem to be a requirement to be able to scan and acquire resources. But they are seeing a ton of transactions. At one point, I think, what was it that Dominic posted? He said that in, like, I guess within a 24-hour window, there was over 800,000 transactions, which is pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, Stardust Economy made a post or two, but he's been on the back of what's going on with looking at the charts and data coming in. That's the most exciting thing that he shared, that he mentioned on a recent hologram interview that he was a part of. And yeah, here we got the uptick in the transactions when it comes to score daily transactions. It's trending upwards, although we've been on a downtrend, but this is a great sign because now there's a turnaround based off of a launch, even though as elementary as it might seem to some people on the outskirts, not understanding the implications of having all this data coming in troves as it. Go ahead.
Okay, I see. This is showing this span of about 6 months, is what it looks like, something like that.
Right. So a good chunk of time there, and then following the stellar success of Escape Velocity, as he wrote in his tweet, we're witnessing a rise in engagement across across programs like Score. Star Atlas is capturing attention of the community explorers. The exciting world of blockchain gaming.
Do we know what the late February spike was? I'm just curious if that was like a standout project or what caused that.
Not sure.
Maybe they said something about needing Atlas and Sage then in like a town hall or something like that. So everyone started the staking every day again for a while. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll definitely direct people to go check out that Twitter space that Wagner was on. He kind of took over host from what's her name? Sorry, it escapes me.
Ash.
Yes, Ash. Because I'm thinking of her last Twitter name for some reason.
Yeah, Hypocryptic.
Yeah, Hypocryptic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was phenomenal. And then we also had they had guest speakers there with them. Let me see if I could pull it up just to share. here, but yeah, I think that was an amazing. It was almost like a mini town hall. Wagner was speaking a lot on the recent events with the launch of EV and all the numbers and the amazing things that were taking place behind the scenes, but not in too much detail. But he was very positive about it and what it means overall going forward. Like that, there was a lot of talk on the future of why this is important, and not so much fixated on what's going on right now. It's pretty simple, like we just mentioned, when you just go right below the surface. But we're talking about months and years coming down, how all of this is going to add up and compound. So we'll have. So yeah, definitely check that Twitter space out. I'm going to pull it up real quick for us here.
Getting a lot of great comments. Pox says servers are actually impressive. Rapid reboot. There are some issues with transaction completion on occasion. I wish the observe feature allowed us to play from there. I think it'd also be quite cool to see other people if there was like loads of ships around in the observe feature.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, just quite a simple test of movement, and yeah, I'm looking forward to when we get a detailed report of everything that went down. I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, what I've observed myself is just that whatever they're doing to tweak and adjust, the servers seem to be getting more stable because as time goes on, there's definitely been less server disconnects and server downs. So that has been impressive considering the amount of transactions and the amount of people simultaneously playing the game.
Right. It was a pretty euphoric feeling seeing the blocks change colors, because that someone is actively doing something in real time on the blockchain. Like that was just an amazing thing to me. It's just been like just something abstract that you couldn't really see yet for all this time, and now we've come this far and it launched, and now we're able to see movement on the chain.
That's what that means.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that means.
That's like
I knew that you could see in the bottom right corner like how many other ships are occupying that square, but I didn't know that that's like when you see like a little flash of the square, that signifies that there's a transaction activity is what's happening on
Correct.
there?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. In order for anyone to move, we're signing transactions, and with the godsend soul flare auto. If you didn't know, it kind of spread like wildfire once everyone figured out after destroying their wrists and on their dominant hand that you can auto sign transactions on a separate wallet other than Phantom, which is called Soul Flare.
Yeah. But when you create that wallet though, you actually have to create a separate wallet that's a burner wallet.
Yeah, exactly. So it gives you an option of a burner wallet, which is a total separate one. And even Soulflare commented on a post that that Wagner made, or someone made, like, is Soulflare the next best gaming centric wallet for Solana? And then Wagner made a comment, and then I think Andre was talking about how it's not going to be as safe because it's a burner wallet, and maybe the technicalities behind why it's still technically safe is what was described by Soulflare itself. So the team reached out and says it's even a safer situation when you have a burner, because it doesn't impact at all your main wallet that has its separate seed phrase. Right. So technically, even if the burner associated on that same UI screen was compromised, it wouldn't necessarily affect anything in the original wallet that you created outside of the burner. So,
and there is definitely a difference from like when the first time that I engaged it, I was on my my Ledger wallet. That's just not an experience that you want. And so then I went from there to my other Phantom wallet, which is not on Ledger, so that was a bit faster. And then from there is when I tried the burner wallet. And yes, the auto approved transactions just makes for a whole different experience, and it makes you a lot more competitive because you've significantly reduced your transaction times.
Absolutely. If you could see people like from Caveman, like, that photo when it says like monkeys going to civilized human beings, you see the steps, and you could probably put Ledger through a phantom transaction, but then you got to go next step further, where it's like an evolution of making this a much easier and fun experience for yourself. So a lot of people transferred over. Although, and this is the thing, this forced a lot of people to get comfortable taking a little bit of risk, learning something different. Some people didn't even know Soulflare existed. Some people only think there's only one way to do things with one wallet. There's many ways to get around. You might have to do a little bit more clicking, which you're more than accustomed to now playing Escape Velocity. But transferring funds to different wallets, having more than one wallet for safe reasons, for safe custodying of your assets, just in case. Having a ledger hardware wallet just to protect indefinitely, more or less all of your crypto if you don't just give out your seed phrase like that, which is the equivalent of your social security number. So you definitely don't want to do that, or else you would lose all your crypto. But yeah, I loved how Soulflare came to the rescue, where no one might have thought it would have been the case, and it pushed people out of their comfort zone. And that's what it's all about. Because every time there's something new that happens, a new game that comes out, something to mint, something whatever, whether a degen play or an actual project that has funding and is going to be the next AAA game on whatever chain, right? And there's multiple networks that you can also have RPCs, which are MetaMask. So not just on Solana chain, there's all these other networks. It's just an amazing space, and it's developing at a rapid pace. So yeah, just don't get complacent out here, guys.
Yeah. So what are some of your thoughts? I can see here Mr. Tixel saying that he just wished the rewards had a little bit more variety. It sounds like he's found over 1,000 items, which in this case, you've looted 1,000 times. And in those 1,000, you've pulled one poster and one hab. That's a little bit under. So you've been less than fortunate, because for that 1,000 loots, you should have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 to 9 to 10, somewhere in there of posters, and of that second tier of the bronze, because it's 0.9 is what the rate is there. So basically 1%, just under 1%. So maybe on your next 1,000, you'll see a little bit better. But again, that is a whole lot of clicking for sure. A lot of us has been in Star Atlas for almost 2 years now. This is Zamsar. Escape Velocity gives a great feeling seeing actual game mechanics on mainnet Solana chain. Sage version 0, day 1 will be the day that the world changes. Well, it definitely is interesting in the sense that we're seeing the project move forward, and the team seems to be pretty excited about the data that they're collecting. That's what I see this as for myself. I mean, it's obviously quite repetitive, so it's not like it's the thrill of the hunt day after day after day, because the top tier prizes, the odds are very much against you, but you're contributing to the project. So I think we're going to see a decline over time of the number of people during this 30-day window that are participating, because it is repetitive, and the rewards are such that honestly, if you're in the top 5% of people that are engaging the game right now, I mean, at best case, you're going to pull in the equivalent of a couple dollars a day. So it's not like it's the rewards are the reason. It's mostly being a part of the project right now, and supporting it, and the data that they're able to pull from it, which to me is exciting. It's exciting in the sense that those are some powerful numbers that are coming through. So we're actually seeing a game unfold on chain. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like Poc's point here that maybe the bigger items have a lock or a time release, so that they happen later and more people come back, and that makes sense.
Yeah, shout out to Poc.
A bit lame if it did go in like the first couple days. So
right.
Well, the other thing that's interesting too is that if you consider the amount of clicks that you would need to average to be in the running for those top tiers, they're going to have to potentially even force those prizes in, because there may not even be collectively enough clicks to be able to generate that prize if it was just a random pull. So they're actually going to have to put it in at some point, and then hopefully the people that are around at that time snatch it up, because otherwise it'd be kind of tough, even for once you get past bronze. And I think that maybe, I don't know, in the chat, I've maybe heard of about 6-7 people maybe pulling something in terms of like an air bike or the solos or something like that. So yeah, I haven't heard of a prize beyond that yet. So maybe
I
they
think
are waiting towards the end.
the Visa Solo, I think, was there was a handful of people who got ships, like you said. But I agree here, and shout out to Pac. He has a great YouTube channel. Definitely support him. One of the best SA content creators out there, next to the handful of others as this ecosystem grows of content creators for Star Atlas. But yeah, I totally agree. The larger ships are going to be released manually. It's not going to be, because imagine someone finding it, clicking their minds away, where there might have been the most people playing, maybe in the mid month, or maybe at the end of the month, whenever the announcement is made that this is a prize that you can find if you start playing. It'll create more engagement, more people will jump in to play, more data will be had. But yeah, if it was found in the first week, it would definitely just not encourage anyone to continue clicking, because that might be, maybe, not talking absolutes here, but a reason people are playing for rewards. But yeah, I think it's awesome. And when it comes to the rewards, I have a screenshot here of Wagner talking about the spawning of these rewards. So he's like, he can confirm that in category possibilities are not equal. The algo runs through multiple RNGs before the actual loot placed is selected. So first check is for which category is selected. The second is which item within that category gets placed. So he says, I'm a bit surprised more claims haven't been found, though, in particular.
So, but just running the numbers, looking at it, there's now that we have copper, bronze, silver,
Yep.
gold at a 99% probability. That means that for every time you loot, you have a 99% chance to grab copper. Bronze is going to be roughly, you're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 111 loots before you potentially find a bronze, 11,000 loots before you find a silver, 2 million loots before a gold, 16.6 million for a platinum, and 142 million for diamond. So you're going to mostly be relying for those higher ones on the lottery, meaning the luck of the draw, because it's not going to be the time and effort you put in that's going to actually make that happen. So yeah,
right. You'll be playing from a hospital bed at that point. IV hooked up and all.
It's just some mild swelling.
No, man. Yeah, but hey, it's for the tech, it's for the data. We have to keep pushing, guys. This is what the team always wanted, and I love the stance that Wagner had. And we could get into the bot situation. I don't know if you want to do now or later, but him not being for or against it made sense. You know, if you just think about it a little bit more than just all bots destroy games, and if it's going to be this bad in the beginning, then there's no hope for the future. Well, not necessarily. So we could get into that.
Yeah, there's a couple. Definitely, I have quite a few thoughts on bots, and I think that you either have to take a hard stance for or against. If you have no stance at all, that is essentially you're basically saying bots are okay. But what it does is it gives you some breathing room to be able to change your mind later or to make adjustments as needed. But as they're gathering data, for me, I mean, I see value in running automation to be able to gather data as well, because that's what I want to understand. It helps me to understand what Star Atlas is doing, and being able to look at the data, for example, and be able to determine things like, based on my observation, it seems that loot in a given square has a cooldown of 5 minutes. Now, I think I have enough data to have confirmed that, but there's still unknowns and there's variables. For example, and I asked this of Chris, the econ guy, but I haven't seen an answer in the Discord chat yet. But he was talking about only 5% of the available loot being claimed. And so that raised the question of, does that mean that loot can respawn? You know what I'm saying? In other words, and that's the question I want to know. So if loot spawns on a given square, will it stay there until it is discovered, till it is scanned for, or will it, after a specified or a random amount of time, respawn to a new location? Because if that's the case, then I could see why this 5% would make sense. But when you're looking at the board right now, and on any given square, there's 1, 2, 3, all the way up to, I've seen 6 people occupying a same square. either those people aren't scanning too often, or I would think the percentage would be higher, which leads me to wonder, is the loot responding to a new square?
No, because from what was talked about, that if more people are playing, there's more rotation of rewards. But you have to get to the square, which forces you to travel, I guess, more often than maybe not, because then you would be roaming around. But either way, oh, even Ronald, this was clarified already in Foundation Room. So yeah, so it stays, and then once it's found, it jumps to another, and it
Right.
replenishes the total from the
And
what
also,
yeah, from
and
there.
also here he's saying that most of those are inactive. Absolutely agree. Just because someone occupies a square does not mean they're
Mhm, mhm.
actively scanning for it. But that also raises another interesting point. If we know there is a timer, and there is a timer for how often loot responds in a square. This was originally a design test for movement, but the current mechanics don't require that you move to be able to acquire loot. You could literally camp out a square.
So
But that is interesting to know that loot stays in a square based on what you're saying. That was already sorted, Ronald, that it stays on a square until it is scanned for and
mhm.
acquired. Cool.
Yeah, and there's different people speculating on what their methods are, and justifying why they're making or getting so much loot. So I've read many people saying that, oh, if you move, because it's a movement test, I'm seeing better numbers using less ships. But then some people are just spamming ships and not using all of them or moving them at all, and they're saying their little cluster is basically rewarding them in the same way. But I don't know what the difference in the percentage would be if you're just maintaining a cluster, not moving versus moving, if that even is a thing that the team put behind the scenes in a way that encourages people. Over the month, you'll find out you'll make more if people are tracking, and then they'll start moving a little bit more to incentivize movement, because that's what they want. So
This
yeah.
is interesting here. So this is from Data Bros. So this is showing the whole map of the 10,201 squares. And of course, like you've got lots of the folks that like, hey, look, man, I'm not even going to warp from the center here. I'm just going to camp out and scan around this area. You can see that little
Mhm.
cluster dot in the center. But then also there's a big one down in the 25 range. So that's interesting.
Not sure if that's mine. I have a similar sized box going there. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised. I have like
How
close to 200 ships just in a rectangular shape there for testing purposes.
what's interesting about this here though is that it shows congestion in the sense that the place where you're seeing, well, here's a couple things. I think that the places where you're seeing the most, I think you've got bots and automation, because there's no question. I've seen
Yeah.
screenshots that tell me that there's definitely a large number of people that are using automation. So that would also be a good idea, that hey, if you're looking for a place to camp out, you obviously want to maybe look to some of those lesser congested areas and go camp out there, like in that bottom right, negative 25, somewhere over there, or up in that upper right corner. Interesting. Is this being updated regularly somewhere?
So this is from yesterday, I believe. I can have a quick look through the rest of his tweets. That was the director of economy for Star Atlas.
But
What's the highest prize for you guys that are watching here? If you care to share it, to drop it in the chat there. Like, have you gotten anything in bronze, anything in silver? Are you on all R4s? Cumulative price. So scaled up pretty quick on the 27th over that first couple of hours, and then it started to level off. Be curious. So, but that's the 27th. So there's been three days since for that data. But okay, but that's so Data Bros, that's the place to look if you want some updates. That's where we're going to get
pretty
it.
much.
That's good
Yeah,
to know.
seems like it. And
Yeah,
he
Data
had
Bros is great.
one more recent post. This is the average transactions per minute, which is 2.4% of all Solana transactions.
That's major.
That is amazing. That's you know what it reminds me of? Well, at least it didn't break the system, but it reminds me of the freaking cats that put the biggest stress test on ETH back in 2018.
CryptoKitties.
CryptoKitties,
Yeah, it destroyed Ethereum.
2018 totally stress tested the system, brought it to its knees. But
Yeah.
it's good to know that, like, hey, you know, this much action and platforms, the system's holding up. So I see that I was asking some folks what they got. So it looks like painting posters for days, R4 posters, R4, got some posters, R4 posters and paint, 5 paint, 11 posters, and a bunch of loots out of 1,100 loots. 4 posters, 1 paint, a lot of R4s. Very small amount of Atlas. Yeah. Yeah, that seems about, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I'm in a similar boat, except I did pull an air bike. So
cool.
Was able to make that happen.
Man, but the million plus warps is showing us all the proof that the concept of blockchain gaming is real. And
yeah, no doubt.
They've proven it to be possible. So that's just a huge milestone and accomplishment in itself. So if there's any doubt now, then look, all eyes on Solana's Star Atlas.
The one thing that concerns me about the future is that obviously auto-approved transactions make for better gameplay. But the question comes is, at what point do you risk by having transactions auto-approved that way? You know, let's say if you have more skin in the game, bigger ships, as we're right now, it's just a small chunk of Atlas and it's not actually your own ship. So that's my question. And it's like, what kind of measures can be put in place to allow for auto transaction, but not put you at great risk?
Yeah, great questions. And again, this is nascent technology, people's first foray into crypto. So if it's not well known yet, and it might not be, yeah, exactly, Ronald. Player profiles. I mentioned this in the Atlas Brew, or I mentioned it, I forget where, but no, it wasn't it was the aftermath of Atlas Brew where people were just hanging out, or I think the launch, right before the launch, there was conversations going on in the SA server, and this pretty much fixes that problem. And it was talked about a lot in the Twitter space that I posted up earlier in the chat. But player profiles will allow you to more or less give authorization to different tasks for different wallets, and it would automate a lot of what we're doing, similar to Soulflare right now. So security is going to be one of the utmost important things there, and it would probably be almost similar to what we're doing with Soulflare burner wallets.
Yeah,
you're just delegating authority to a certain person. Yep.
Well, I like what Ronald's saying here as well. It's like there are different levels of transactions, you know, some that don't put you at risk. I mean, what's the worst thing that happens if you know, if someone was able to take over your movement, you know? So if you limit it to things like that, then that makes a lot of sense, because otherwise that just takes a lot of fun out of the game if you're constantly having to approve transactions just to get from point A to point B. Yeah.
All right.
I think I would be pretty upset if I woke up in mud territory, though.
Right. It's like your boat drifted out to sea.
That's funny. Yeah, that's going to probably be soon on the horizon, player profiles. I mean, after they come out with crafting and whatnot, it should be right behind as far as something that's released. Hopefully they can give us an update on how much they've been developing.
Aethia has a really good roadmap they've released, and
nice.
They've updated it, so it has everything that's already live up to here. We have racing to look forward to, governance, Sage, resource extraction and crafting, Showroom R2.15, and DAC, mobile app, and the Showroom R3. So, yeah, action-packed year. This is a good start. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, shout out to Aethia, one of the larger guilds in the space. They're always putting out that great information, and you can subscribe to their newsletter. Check out their Twitter for sure. It's alive and active. But yeah, I think on the Star Atlas front, there's so much happening that it's hard to keep track of, and we need more of the community to just sum it all up. Visuals are also great, as we see here. So yeah, can't say. Yeah, Ronald and Funcracker, who's Ronald in the chat from Aethia, definitely thanks for all this, and all the other social media content creators. It's just we're speeding up here when it comes to Star Atlas. But I think it was amazing how in the first there was 800,000 transactions in the first 24 hours. So it doubled in the first 12 hours from its original 250 of when Escape Velocity launched. So that's yeah, it's clearly accelerating. And we just finished looking at. Did we get real time of what it looks like now? I know there'll be some fluctuations. They just can't go up all the time, depending. You know, there could be some variables that that make people continue to grow, or not grow, but have interest in joining in on this test. So, but yeah, on my end, as far as rewards, nothing too fancy. Just a bunch of loot. I got a bunch of posters, a bunch of paints, and I'm continuing to spread myself out throughout the month, and I'll do a little clicking here and there. You know, so but some people are. I think the person with the most clicks have over 10,000, or his goal is to get 10,000. I think he just broke 2,500 in the WhatsApp. I mean, in the WhatsApp, not in the Star Atlas server. That was
2,500 loots.
Yeah, impressions. So on that website, there's a handful of websites that you can check the total of what you have and the amount of times that you've clicked. Whether
okay, because yeah, I saw someone post in one of the Star Atlas Discord channels. They were showing over 3,500 loots. So I don't know what that amounts to for the number of clicks, but that's how many times they pulled loot.
That must be a lot of ships. I wonder how much everyone is using in game. Are they going for like a small fleet or a large fleet? And Hologram, they made a poll with this very question.
I went with a large one. I've tested small and tested large, and right now I've got a pretty sizable one. But it's also my understanding that depending upon the computer you're running, even the memory within your browser can get hung up if you're like trying to get up there into the 150 ship range.
Right. I had two accounts. The first one I had a small one going, and I was testing it out, and then I jumped over to the next one. So I was doing like a day on the small account, and then a day on the big account to see. But yeah, I just ended up just spamming the map with all my ships and as much Atlas as I had, and then doing it all on the same account to see if there was any. I did see, and again, there's no hard data here that I have, but it's hard to tell if you're making the same amount by just doing your rows of clicking stationary or moving around. On my end.
There's like a number of tools that are out there, by the way. Some are better than others. Let me see if I can pull up.
Got Skull and Bones out there. Shout out.
Yes, Skull and Bones has one. Actually, there's three primary ones, and the one that I like the best, honestly, is Star Atlas Italia. I think they did a really good job. Theirs is just straight up like you're going to see the different groups of like your ammo and your food and your Atlas and anything else you got. Plus it auto updates your screen. It looks great on mobile as well. Tells you your total number of loots, just gives you the basics. And then who are the other ones? Where did you go? Here we go. Yeah, so the other one is Skull and Bones, as you mentioned, and I could drop these links in there. And my thought on that one is that it's the only one that gives you sector data. So that to me is pretty interesting because that's actually what I was using. I pulled the data I got from there and dropped it in a spreadsheet. And then I looked at a series of loots within a particular square. And that's where I was able to determine like, okay, there is a timer here for how long it takes, because the lowest that I've seen somewhere is being able to get loot again within the 5 to 6 minute range within a given square. So that's kind of where I was able to pull the data, say, okay, I haven't seen anything less, but if it is that low, then we know that there's at least a 5-minute cooldown. So they do have that. They have the coordinate data on there. So that's pretty cool. And then Crypto Hut is the other one, except I noticed they're having a little bit of database issue on there on the way some of their stuff has been reporting. Maybe they'll fix that because they have been updating it over the day. I've seen how the format and layout changes. So yeah, Skull and Bones is the one I'm using for the for location data, but for just a quick refresh snapshot, it's Star Atlas Italia is what I've been using.
Right. Yeah, and I think behind the scenes, the team they do know based off of the activity if it's a bot or not. That's having this consistent clicks every on the dot of every minute of whenever it's clicking, and doing its rounds as it's programmed to do so. So I think over time they'll know the pattern behaviors of a bot versus or what it might look like. So then they could maybe review that account if it's rewarded. And that was one of my questions I didn't ask in the foundation room. I was waiting for the week to come on the show and talk about it. But if and when the tank ship is available or any other high prized item is going to be competed for when it comes to clicking, they're going to have to be a manual review of the account that wins this random tank ship or any other ship. And I can't imagine anyone with a bot winning the reward and then it not being rectified when it was clearly a bot. Maybe.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because there's a couple of different things that are considered automation. There's bots, there's things that you can manipulate on chain. There is automation where you're recording actions on your screen.
Yep.
And while some of those are very blatant and very easy to tell, there's others that are not. And so there are some out there where no, they actually don't have the ability to tell. And the reason I say that is because what would be the things you look for? You look for patterns, inconsistency, clicks to a particular pixel. All of that stuff can be randomized. So there's not a clear cut and dry, like, I can tell you that for a fact that this is a bot. So if that's the case, then are they just excluding those that are clearly identified as bots? Which is, again, I'm like, you got to kind of decide, take a stance. Are you loose on it? Are you not including it? Are you allowing it? Because I think that we're stepping into a future where, look how much AI is already integrated into so many things. Automation's a thing. I mean, you can poo-poo it all you want, but you're going to be on the lesser end of receiving what's possible if you're not utilizing technology that's available to you.
Right. Yeah, and there was an individual in the Star Atlas server who mentioned, like, I'm currently having an auto clicker keeping 12 ship scans on cooldown. Am I going to catch heck for that if I run it while I'm asleep or at work? And then we have Sammy from the team mentioning per the terms of service. So, quote, mass entries generated by a script, macro, or use of automated devices will be disqualified. Do with that what you will, I guess. So again, for the purposes of this test, they want as many different bots, whether recognizable as bots or maybe that are randomized, so they can pick up and maybe build up some type of portfolio of what's a randomized bot versus more clear. This wherever the gray area is, they would probably just keep their eyes on it to see how it evolves. And Wagner even mentioned it too. He wants to see what is going to be happening over the next couple of however long we're doing this playtest, which is a month, and then into the future to see what they're going to do as far as their stance on all or any types of botting. But Bodhi mentioned in the chat as well, should we get rid of bots also in the marketplace? Because now that's a different type of game that people are having an advantage for, and people are winning and losing there all the time. And if you create a bot, you might be in the upper percentages of getting what you want when you want it, and then messing with the markets in that way. Both positively and negative. And we could also talk about the pros of having bots for marketplace transactions, which is essential. But yeah, it could go either way. So it's either, are we for it completely, are we against it completely, is there a fine line? Do we need to update the terms of service? I'll tell you this, Axie Infinity did that such thing in the past where they had to revise the terms of service because they were allowing this type of thing to happen as well when it came to breeding Axies in mass to get a certain Axie ID number, which is maybe like, let's say it's a 420 Axie or a 69 Axie, something that would have been, or the millionth Axie, right? And there were people who were knowledgeable enough to do this, and it wasn't clear enough in the terms of service that you were able to do this. And then there was a whole community uproar, and it was a lot of talking, and then a lot of people weren't satisfied with the take what the team did after the fact. But over some time, it was like, okay, this is the new terms of service. They literally changed the terms of service. Some people weren't okay with it. Some people understood it, but it was still kind of like, hey, you should have been thinking about this beforehand, because bots and people who write scripts, it's not like you weren't gamers before. Every game is ravaged with bots in some capacity. So it's kind of like, where's the balancing here when it comes to Star Atlas, and how Wagner might talk about it and deal with it in the coming months.
Well, I mean, for example, I mean, as you just mentioned, like with the marketplace, there are different types of ways to create automation and things that assist you, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the benefit of a bot. We're talking about leveraging technology, algorithms, AI, screen recorders for repetitive tasks, things like that. But with the market, you could write a bot that does market arbitrage and you make little bits of money here and there on what's happening within the marketplace. Is that something we want to discourage? Or is it the mechanical actions that imitate what a player is doing? Is that what you're trying to discourage? Is there, like, look how many mods there are for games, that you can layer on top. Are you looking to discourage someone from writing a script that allows them to lock onto a ship and helps to control the guidance system of their ship so that they don't lose someone that they're targeting? But that's not built within the game, but it's something you layered on top. I mean, like, what is the actual language? What are we trying to discourage, and what is to be allowed? I think that's a lengthy conversation.
Yeah, and this topic was touched on in that Twitter space. That's why I'm like, it was like a mini town hall when it came to what just
Mhm.
was happening with soon after the release of EV Escape Velocity, and then what was taking place currently. And a lot of conversation was had by what's his name, the blockchain architect. So his Twitter handle is Buzzek 9108. So again, I'll copy paste it here, but definitely check it out because Wagner and the blockchain architect of Star Atlas talked on this in some detail. And I look forward to a different type of town hall that's more centered, or a conversation that's had, maybe an announcement or in writing, something that clarifies again maybe the way they're thinking about it, where they're going with it, and not again saying what they are or are
Yeah.
not for, because again it's a very touchy subject, and some people might not have gone deeper than just the surface level of understanding the impact that bots have, both negative and positively,
Yeah.
And when. So
What Falcor said there in the comments there, this is where DAO voting and constitution comes in. This is absolutely true on a much deeper level, even beyond just this game. This is something I've been thinking about quite a bit, and this relates to AI as well. I think that I talked about this on the show before. When it comes to AI, not just within the game world, when it comes to Chat GPT, something that all of the large language models have in common is that they have filters. They have engineers and they have people that are dictating what these things learn, what they feed to the system. And the truth is that's a problem. And that's if you saw the interview that Musk did recently, where he was talking about why he wants to build Truth GPT in XAI. It's because there is great danger in building building artificial intelligence that has been taught to be politically correct, meaning it doesn't have the full truth. It has biases built in by the people that put stuff in. So that led to the question, like, well, what do you do about that? Well, I think it should be the people collectively that are voting, like what is considered, fake news, what is considered harmful, what are the things that should be included in AI and what shouldn't. And I think it comes down to a vote. And I think blockchain voting is probably the best tool that we have for doing that, just like we do within a game world like this. The DAO vote should be able to dictate aspects about bot guidelines, what can be used, what can't be used. Yeah, I think that is absolutely a DAO vote.
we'll definitely see it. We're going to see that and a whole bunch of other stuff, but the most pressing concerns are going to be brought up first. And I can't wait. We're going to actually get some action on the DAO, and we'll get more activity and conversation and voting, actual voting taking place. So that's always welcomed in this space, as we just have our discourse in Discord, in the official Star Atlas governance channel. If you're interested, you could just jump over there and talk more about it. But
Yeah, and on this roadmap given to us by Afia, governance should be in Q2 2023. So, yeah.
That's like now.
Keeping my fingers crossed.
I do want to shout out Enigma. There was a photo I just took a snapshot of him talking with Sammy from the team in the official Star Atlas Discord. But he has his 3D printing of the models resin models of 3D printed ships that you can always check out. So there, people are leveraging the IP of Star Atlas left and right here, it seems. And we had a Hologram News Network also launching. So shout out to them. I don't know if it's in the lineup for show notes, but they launched their own business leveraging the IP. And there's a sloth of wearables that you can have. I think Winston purchased the actual first Oni faction hat. So shout out to Winston, our Centurion from Rome. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, there we go. There it goes. That's it. That's it right there. Got Winston's name all over it. So yeah, definitely support our local entrepreneurs here in the space of Star Atlas. And you can actually pay with Atlas. You can pay with USDC. And I think Polis, I think there was a third, or Solana actually. So it's Solana, Atlas, and USDC. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. But just going to this message here that Enigma wrote and then was responded to by the team. He's like, I know this is purely a test on chain movement, so I understand you're trying to find max out limits. I remember hearing that movement within a system in Sage won't be actually on chain, won't be actually an on-chain transaction. It's only when we move to a new system, so we won't be approving as often as we are now? Question mark. Right? He asks, and then Sammy goes, stuff's on chain still. So everything is going to be on chain, but you'll be able to use a player profile like we talked about earlier to essentially delegate specific actions to other wallets. So all the asset transfer authentication can still be in your ledger while you can warp and do other things with a normal hot wallet. So essentially you're always going to be protected, but through player profiles, you'll be able to delegate different authentication or authorities to different wallets, and essentially you would never. Yeah, it's never say never, but again, if you give up your seed phrase, but you're going to be pretty well off and not needing to concern yourself with getting hacked left and right by clicking on anything else other than in the game through the player profile system. So I'm very, very much looking forward to that. So, but yeah, what else we got, Fans?
Yeah, along with Escape Velocity, there was more images from the Foundation room this week. We got like an inside look at the Calico Hero without the exterior panels on. I have the image zoomed in on here, and you can see how everything is being designed from like the inside out, and yeah, it looks very cool. There's like countermeasure mortars, water purificator. And yeah, it just looks very awesome. Can't wait to get inside the ship and see what I can interact with.
Oh, there it is. I was wondering what the green was. Cooling system exhaust.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I can't wait to see more, really. I know they're doing this for a lot of ships right now, and yeah, it's interesting to see when they're getting implemented. Can't wait to see that new Calico Hero.
Yeah.
Isn't that your favorite ship, Fans?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Yeah, it's in the lineup. But yeah, I love the artwork. When they show these types of things, I just hope that, and I think that's what we're going to be expecting soon enough. Maybe some more development work shared with the community as far as like maybe real time. You know, we had some projects in the past doing that. Maybe there's some shifting around that's going on the team where we'll have some Discord live, development shared with the community. I don't know. That would be nice.
Comment from Zamzor here. Maybe we need a new term other than wallet to get non-crypto people more excited to join the party. What do you guys think about that? There is quite a few wallet options at the moment.
Yeah. Like, what would it be? What would you call it? Is there an equivalent in the gaming world now? Just for what you
inventory?
Yeah.
Inventory approver. You need an inventory approver before you can start playing. Like, what do you mean? You got to prove whatever you have in inventory to just start moving around and playing. But hey, we could get creative. But yeah, I think what I see a lot is websites being created for new games. There's 2 games that I'll mention that I'm looking at the end of this Star Atlas segment. And on their website, there's a dedicated link tab that goes directly into downloading a wallet, how to, what the steps are, and it's just great to see this being a thing. I don't know how many times we mentioned it here, or that people in the community across different games have been asking for this. Not saying that Star Atlas kind of slacked on it, but there's always room to improve, as we know, and the sooner the better, because then you'll have people not so worried about being scammed, or if it's not coming from an authentic, like an authentic individual or institution on a Twitter or an email. You just go straight to the site. You'll have the how-to right then and there, and not so much through a video. Although the videos are great, in paired with the articles, but hey, an official source of where to go to set yourself up to just get into the game, whether it's the showroom and or the WebGL game here, Escape Velocity. So until that happens, I think that would definitely make an impact as far as people getting onboarded, like without a doubt.
Did you guys see this week? It is the Agrica medkit. So you find this inside a hospital, and it unfolds and has all these healing capsules.
Stim packs.
Yeah,
man.
Looks quite cool in my opinion. Fits the Agrica vibe. Which Agrica ships have a onboard hospital? Not sure about that. Maybe it's just a variety that you can get in any type of ship.
Yeah, it looks like a something you can add on to a ship, maybe, if it's just through the Agrica line.
Yeah. And,
you can stick them anywhere.
It folds up, and so it's compact, I guess.
Reminds me of Fallout days. Stimmies.
Right? Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Gotta get the stimmies. How crucial those were to help you with your journey.
Yeah, but another piece of the puzzle looking good. And yeah, we're gonna be seeing more of those. Moving on to final Star Atlas thing this week. Picture of the week by Tenet Sator 2. It's the X4 inside of the is this the Floyd liner?
Nice.
I think so.
Is that sitting on a track? Is it mounted there, and then you just?
I think
release mechanism.
He hover moded it in and then just got off, and it's kind of stuck to the floor, and then it jumps back up when you get on it.
Very cool.
Yeah, you can't do much of anything like that of what you just said, Jess. It's just like you throw it in there. Either hover mode works or not, and you just try to make it work. Sometimes things glitch out, but
yeah, it might fall out of the floor if you go too fast or take a corner too hard. So Ray, you said you had more things to talk about.
Yeah, so if we go in the show notes and you scroll down, there's links for Last Remains. So there's a video. If you click on the video, I think it's a pretty cool game, and we can give it a little check out here. Oh yeah, so here we had an announcement from Polygon saying the Earn Alliance has just announced the launch of Play Last Remains, a new free-to-play stealth zombie battle royale game. So almost like a Fortnite, where the circle of extraction kind of gets smaller, and you have to go to that location. So you'll check out the video soon, but get ready to experience the thrill of battling it out in a PvE or PvE world. You could check out the website, and it says Last Remains has combined the excitement of both stealth and battle royale elements, making it one of the most challenging competitive experiences in the gaming industry. The game offers Web3 NFT rewards, allowing players to own digital collectibles. Players will be competing to find mintable skins, with only 3 survivors able to escape on the rescue helicopter. Last Remains aims to revolutionize how competitive players are rewarded. Want to get your hands on some NFTs? Free character NFTs is done with Genesis character NFT sale, which was on the 6th. Oh no, it's coming up actually. So free character NFT is done with Genesis character NFT sales on the 16th of May. Don't miss out on the opportunity to join Last Remains community. Blah 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 blah. So, yeah, all that's fine, but let's see some visuals, because that's what really sells people on some things, especially in the Web3 space. It's a very polished, I'd say.
Scrounge through the deserted streets.
Could you replay it, please?
Avoiding danger,
Thanks.
searching for fortune. Welcome to Last Remains, the first AAA Web3 zombie battle royale. Last Remains is a multiplayer survival game with a strong emphasis on stealth, strategy, and combat. Travel through the city and face off against other survivors in order to reach the extraction point. Trust me though, it's not as easy as it sounds. As with most battle royales, you'll start at a random location and have to find valuables, weapons, and consumables as you make your way through the map. Take your time though, and search everything. You never know what you might find. Let's talk about the most iconic part of Last Remains, the zombies. You'll find them roaming around the map quite mindlessly, but be careful, they're actually quite dangerous. And if you run into a zombie, it's usually best to avoid fighting them. Try and hide or move around them. Searching for loot and fighting zombies isn't easy. You'll need to find and consume food and water to keep your hunger and thirst levels up. Now, thankfully, there should be plenty of both in abandoned kitchens and storefronts around the city. Movement is quite dynamic in Last Remains. It's not just about running and hiding. You can also jump and climb. Get strategic with your movements to find unique vantage points and access hidden areas. Now for combat. The most common way to deal with a zombie is to sneak up behind them and then hold E to execute them with your weapon of choice. Mine in this case is a surprisingly deadly frying pan. And there's plenty more weapons to choose from. You can find axes, hammers, and even katanas. There's no shortage of weapons in Last Remains. Speaking of which, it wouldn't be a zombie game without guns, now would it? Although not as common, you can find firearms around the city. If you find one, simply equip it, click to aim, and then fire away at zombies or players. Just be careful, don't waste ammo, and remember, firing a gun makes a lot of noise. Last, but certainly not least, let's talk about winning. You'll earn points for looting valuables that are represented on a leaderboard. And in order to actually win, you'll need to survive until rescue comes. Now follow the blue shrinking circle on your map to locate that extraction point and be one of the first 3 to reach it safely in order to bring your loot and rank score out with you.
So you can end up, you're like, man, I collected all kinds of loot this time, but you don't make the 3 that gets away.
Right. Yeah, that's part of the excitement of playing these Web3 games, where it's like nothing is promised and the potential to lose is as high as the potential to win. Like it really could be a 50-50.
Yeah.
But my question is so what do you guys think in the chat? I came across that. It's pretty cool because I'm just following Polygon Gaming on Twitter. So I love the concept of this. It's so similar to Dead Drop with Dr. Disrespect's vertical extraction shooter. So it's going to be a Tarkov / Modern Warfare 2-esque type of game, but it's a vertical extractor, and you're going to have to get out. And but you could only, I think you can get out as many times as you can. So if you extracted what you have, you can extract early. Once you can extract, because it'll go live when you're able to extract via helicopter or elevator or zip line. There's multiple extraction points on the map, and then if you wanted, you can stay to be the last man standing, and then you'll get the dead drop, which is the cumulative amount of rewards plus what you can select. You'd be able to select a certain reward. But yeah, that's that. This one it's similar UI too to Dead Drop from what I'm recognizing. It's so I'm excited to try this one out. So definitely check that out. As far as
be careful, they're actually quite dangerous.
Right. So Club Grist. It's a new game that's coming out. No surprise there, but it's called the Last Remains. And yeah, just give it a rewind. If you're watching live, you can always just scroll back the cursor and you could watch again from where we just were. So definitely check it out. The video is pretty cool. And so yeah, I just wanted to mention that. And then the next one here is Play Wildcard. So we can give this little trailer a watch. But essentially, this is like a MOBA and a card game where if you ever played the Epic or what is it called? Clash Royale. So if you know of Clash of Clans, there's a sister or brother game that's called Clash Royale, and then Clash Royale, not Clash of Clans. So there's Clash of Clans and then Clash Royale. And essentially, this is what it's going to come down to, where you'll have your characters, and there's 3 lanes. I don't know if every map is going to be that, but it's pretty competitive in Stash, Crypto Stash, and and Bryson did a tournament 3 months before the mint took place. So that's when I first seen it, and then since then it's kind of like blown up more so than it, because that was just the first time it was ever played and recorded. So I like how polished this one is, and the concept of the game. It's very strategic, and you have to manage the mana you have effectively and efficiently with what cards you summon, which are the actual monsters or characters, to help push back and then essentially destroy the core on the other end of the map, which is your opponent's town hall, let's say, or so yeah. Let's just give this a quick listen.
It's time for the main event.
Hey, boy, you ready?
Welcome our champions, and let's get wild!
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Interesting layout for the arena. It seems like with that type of arena combat, you wouldn't want as many layers and places to hide and move around. You just, yeah. Do you know how that comes into play? Like what you do with all that?
Right. So there's 3 lanes in this particular map, and there's one that goes far right, that goes under, across, and then up around to get to the core. And whenever you summon using the mana, if you saw on the bottom of the screen, there's 4 cards that at any time that cycle through your deck, right? Depending on what deck you create, because that's what you're essentially going to be able to do. And then you could win rarer cards or monsters to spawn that take maybe less or more mana. But essentially, if you go straight down the middle, the opponent sees you coming, they could spawn, they could volley back an opponent that could handle, like you see in different sized monsters. There's clusters of enemies that you can spawn. So depending on what your deck is like and what the opponent's strategy is, I could see this blowing up like a League of Legends esports for sure. And so you're going to use your mana on the far left of this particular map. You can send over, launching yourself from one platform on your end to the other, and then those monsters or creatures would have to be dealt with by you, because now there's an onslaught of attacks coming. And so again, reminiscent of both Clash Royale when it comes to the cards you own, and then summoning them in different locations to then maybe throw off your opponent, because they would have to deal with a tank coming in through the center, but then they get attacked little by little on the sides, depending on what strategy you take and who your opponent is. But I loved how in the audience there's going to be live. There's a component of this where you'll be live watching games and placing bets. So there was a town hall that was had on the when the mint went live on the 20th of April. So right now they exclusively did a mint on Magic Eden of all places, although the game is going to be on Polygon. So it kind of might have mixed some people up there, but they had a link to the website, and I got in right after the mint. So I did a secondary purchasing right after, and then since then the prices are kind of like skyrocketed, because they hinted towards having all the different colors. I think there's 8 different cards, wild pass cards, and they all going to have excuse me. They all have a name and a color associated with them, with a certain style of maybe like Emerald would be what you just seen with the plant-based character that has all these earthy ground type. This is a video that was so if you go search on videos, you could see some type of gameplay now, because they're letting people in to play test, and I actually won. I'm in their Discord and I have all the passes, so I just scooped them all up right after the fact, because I'm just betting on this to be something that would be more popular. It's more fast track, and it also reminds me of Illuvium. What they may have tried to do in a different way. Maybe they didn't want to do it like this, but I see this more engaging a more engaging type of battling when it comes to having your monsters as cards and competing in a way that's maybe not just how far you can get, but how fast you can destroy your opponent to then move on and earn those rewards. So I love how everyone's just doing it a little different, but this really stood out to me as far as like the competitiveness and how quickly it could get picked up, similar to Dead Drop when it comes to those types of people who love first-person shooters. And then yeah, so let's give this a little listen. It's not nothing crazy. I forgot to actually take it off because he just explains how you have to efficiently.
Essentially, you're losing out on potential cards that you could be playing. And you can see here. Oh shoot. Oh god, he's pushing in already. Yep. So you just gotta make sure that you're always spending your mana, always using your abilities effectively, and playing the best hand possible depending on what the opponent is doing, so that you can effectively utilize all of your deck and your cards as best as you can. So if you want to check them out, Twitter is Play Wildcard. It looks definitely very polished as a game, and this is very exciting. I'm playing right now against Bruce, one of the co-founders of Quest. How do I cancel an attack?
Yeah, so basically he just goes through his first impressions and playing it on the. So I'm going to be playing it, I think, on the first. I got to check because I'll have access to just play, and then I'll just do some screen recording on OBS, and maybe we can do a little clip here or there on what my experience was. But yeah, I think it's going to be an awesome game. It might not be your alley. It might not be up your alley as far as what you like to play, but and I know we've have limited bandwidth here when it comes to funds and attention, depending on who you are. But yeah, I'm just excited how the games are advancing as far as how they look and how they're incorporating Web3 on a regular basis here. So it's not just like we have to focus on older projects that were announced and waiting for them to now do something more creative or just to get online with the rewards earnings, if that's a thing. But yeah, I think this one's pretty cool. And last but not least, there was an announcement for a mint which ends on the 1st of May for Shrapnel. Shrapnel, I gotta see this. I didn't have it here, but if you go to Shrapnel's official Twitter page, I know a handful of Romans purchased some of the operators for that game. It's going to be on an Avalanche subnet. That's where they're located as far as that game, Shrapnel. And then Metalcore was the other one. I think that was on Polygon. But we're talking about Shrapnel. It's going to be, it already looks really good, and people have been playing it if you had access to get in. But can't seem to find my snapshot I had on my phone, actually. But definitely check it out because you're able to link up your wallet to the website, and it'll recognize your operators. And but yeah, those are just some of the things that I was checking out. So if can't find it, I'm not sure why. No, where it went. But you know, it's a pleasure being here every week. It's always good to yes, and if you don't have a so yes, mainly we talk about Star Atlas. It's the go-to game in the space for now. There's a lot of developments and things happening around the space, but go roam.io or roamguild.com is a place where you can find your home when it comes to being a part of a larger ecosystem and guild when it comes to Star Atlas. So definitely check us out if you're interested. Read up about us on our website and consider us. If not, join the official Star Atlas Discord and get mingling. But I think that's all for me. I'll pass it over. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, man. Another good show. Game wise, yeah. Thanks for sharing some of those games that you're into. Some of those are definitely interesting. Over the past week, I've been playing a little bit of Illuvium Zero. As you know, nice. The Illuvium ecosystem, you've got the open world, you've got the arena, and then you've got like a base building, not for the purposes of combat, but rather for the purposes of creating resources. And so I've been playing a bit of that. So I may show some of that nice. On our next show. But also it'd be really cool to see what takes place over the next week with Sage. And if we get any more data to look at, find out kind of rewards people have been able to claim, and just anything else we can observe about it. It's pretty cool to see some of these projects, as you're saying, come to life and be playable. You know, as you were talking about that one game where you can collect all this loot, but it's not yours until you make it to the chopper.
Right.
It reminds me of Lost Relics, because that's one that was actually playable a couple of years ago. And if you could eventually loot something that was really good, it was not yours until you finish the level.
Right.
So you could like, oh no, you die before you
Yep.
actually get out of the level, so you lose it. But yeah, it is cool in the sense that we're starting to see some things that are playable. For sure.
And then I have my Solana phone here, but I was just caught up. I actually picked it up, and I'm excited about it. So we got the Solana without that glare. You can see it there. But yeah, I'm going to try it out. I haven't gotten to it. So Westbit was giving me some flack on shout out to Westbit or BitWest on Twitter. He was just like, how do you not open it as soon as you get it? I was like, man, Sage had my wrists occupied. My hands were more than occupied for the last couple of days. So I'm going to try it out. And some reviews were talking about how it might not be the all-encompassing device like your iPhone or Android would be right now, because it has its own DApp marketplace where dApps are going to continue to get onboarded and added to it. I got to see if I could download maybe Google Play Store, because the operating system is Google, so that maybe I could still utilize apps that I have on my original main phone. But yeah, it's a work in progress, and we know how tech is. It's constantly iterated on and updated.
It'd be kind of cool if they did some kind of a OG legacy thing for all of the people that grab a version 1, out the gate of these phones.
Yeah, they have incentives and rewards for people if they got into the first wave of purchasing by pre-ordering. So I gotta catch up on all this, but yeah, I'm excited for it. I'll have 2 phones in my pocket weighing me down. Because GenoPets, I'm a part of GenoPets too. I have my habitat there, and I've been a long time there staking my gene and earning key. So yeah, that's a whole other thing. It's one of those. It's a walk to earn type of game. But it was one of the more popular and I guess well known outside of Steppen, and it did it. GenoPets did it a little differently, building an actual game world with characters and NFTs that you can buy your GenoPet, actual pet. So yeah, so they partnered, and I covered it 2 weeks ago. The different Web3 Solana projects that have partnered with the initial launch. So these are the dApps that will actively be on the phone as I get in there on the dApp store. So yeah, I can't wait to hook it up. And then that's why I said 2 phones in my pockets. I'll be walking around with my Solana phone, building up them steps, and then the other one to make important calls. So
nice.
Yeah, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Any final words there, Fancy Hat?
Yeah, appreciate everyone watching, and maybe we'll be congratulating one of you on your new Thimble tank ship next week.
Ooh,
good luck.
We'll see.
Very cool, man. Through a tank ship party. Hope we're all invited.
With no wrists.
Awesome. So very, very good. Another great show. Appreciate having all you guys here on with us, and all the things we learned from you guys as well. We'll be back here same time next week. Until then, take care. Cheers.
Atlas Miner, you were born to push the block in search of ore. And now it's time that you are gone. So farewell, Atlas Miner. And farewell, Mud and Oni too. Who's the sector same to you? The pirate bastards ran him through. So farewell, Atlas Miner. They promised you a diamond mine, but I'll be damned, it's hard to find. I hope there's justice for their crimes. So farewell, Atlas Miner. And farewell, friend, don't take it hard. Getting killed ain't all that bad. They'll treat you well in the repair yard. So farewell, Atlas Miner.